Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to take the daily articles we've been working on and insert them into the Castbox template. Now this video only applies if you're using the articles that have already been edited, like the daily articles, and we're building the Castbox day by day. If you're building the Castbox from scratch, from raw articles, there's a separate video which shows you how to do that. Okay, let's get started. So if we go to our last project, which was the daily articles project. I'm just going to open this back up again. There we go. So here we can see our articles that have been edited and they've been exported every day to be uploaded to the BWBF. So now we're going to insert them into the Castbox. And if we build it every single day as we go along, then by the end of the week, all you have to do is the final checks and assembly and then export the whole thing. So this is a much faster way to work than doing it from scratch. So we need to get, there's a template for the Castbox as well, which is in the Dropbox. I've got it copied to my local drive again. So if I go to my documents and down to where I'm storing my templates. So here's the Castbox template. I'm going to copy that and paste it in here. And I'm going to give it, I'm actually going to give it tomorrow's date because that's the date that the Castbox will be going up on. So it'll be 24. And this is the Glasgow Times Castbox that I'm working on. So for whichever paper you're working on, just title it appropriately. So, okay, and okay, we don't need any of that, so we're just going to get rid of those, tidy that up. Okay, now if I click on that, you should get the second, your second project opens up in another tab at the top of Reaper. Yeah. If it doesn't, and it closes the project you're working on, go back to the project, yeah, and then just click Control O for open while you're in Reaper. Browse to the project you want to open, which is our Castbox. Click on it and make sure Open a New Project tab is enabled. Open. Now we've got both projects open next to each other. Now what we're going to do is, the Castbox is a little bit more complex, but it is actually fairly straightforward in the way it works. So if we go to our daily articles project, now these tracks should be in this folder. If we click and we drag them up so that the little blue line indents, you'll see it over here as I drag them up. So click, shift, click, click, drag there. That puts them all into this single folder. Now, I like to rename every day when I drag the folders across. I'll rename them by day. So for example, this is Thursday today. Sorry, it's Friday today. So I'm going to select all these folders. So click, shift click, Control C, go over to the Castbox and select this track and then Control V for paste. You know? Now, if I take this track, this folder track, and I click and I drag it again, you see it indents into the import below track. Yeah. So now all these tracks are inside the folder we need them to be in. So I'm going to mute them for now so we're not listening to them all. So if I now play the first track.
Glasgow Times, normally recorded.
Status, one-time Whites and England goalkeeper Robinson.
As you can hear, all the tracks are
PSG attack, but they were undone. Are
ready to go. Now, in the Castbox, we have the intro music and the intro titles. And if we just click back at the start here, you can hear that.
You're listening to the Glasgow Times, normally recorded by volunteers at the Bishopbriggs Media Centre, currently being recorded from homes across Greater Glasgow. Please enjoy this week's articles. Okay, so if you look at the top of the screen there, you can see that
each day has its own section. The Castbox is usually about between an hour and a half and 2 hours long, and this has been subdivided into 24 minutes per day approximately. So the thing to do is try to create some variety in the readers. So we have at the moment, I think here we have 3 different readers, which is Bill.
United.
Yeah, I think this is Ian.
From the politics section.
Yep, and this is Andrew and Margaret. Sorry, 4 readers then.
Lifestyle.
That's Andrew, and this is Margaret.
An article by Stuart.
Cool. So if you scroll back up here, you can see that we've got tracks for each of the readers. You can add if you've got additional readers, you can add tracks. If you just select the track that you want to insert below, hit Control T for track, then you've created a track, and we can call it, let's call it Reader 5. Reader 5, and we can click and drag that track up and down wherever we want it to be. Okay, so now we want to start building the Castbox. So at the end of the intro section, you can see here that we've got different intros based on the different papers. So this is the Glasgow Times.
You're listening to the Glasgow Times. Normally,
now, if you were working on the Herald, for example, you would mute the Glasgow Times intro and you would unmute the Herald intro.
You're listening to the Herald. Normally recorded.
And same for the National.
You're listening to the National.
Okay, so we'll go back to the Glasgow Times. Now, you can see the music and the intro ends here at the first marker. So that is where we want our first article to come in. So let's start with, for example, Bill.
Is not cut out for Premier League.
Okay, now you can see that there's a little padlock here, which means the track is locked. So we can't move it, we can't move it around. So we're just going to unlock that by clicking on the padlock. Yeah, and then we're going to click and we're going to drag it to the first marker. Now, you can see that because the snap is enabled, it is jumping to the bar lines and the first marker as well. Now, if we want to get rid of the grid lines, if you just click up here on the grid, that'll get rid of that. Okay, so end of the intro and into the first article should sound something like this.
Across Greater Glasgow. Please enjoy this week's articles.
Celtic star Hodgson Edward.
Okay, now at the end of each of the articles, we're going to put a little room tone, which is just a little noise which signifies to the listeners that that's the end of this article and it's the start of the next one. It also helps for people who want to skip through the articles. So in the same way that we use the room tones at the intro and the outro of the daily files, so the daily articles, there's a gap tone here. Yeah, it's the same principle. So we're going to mute these, and what we're going to do is we're going to select that, hit Control-C to copy it to the clipboard again, and then same as we did in the daily articles, if we click on this article and we hit End Paste, you can see that it's automatically pasted the room tone at the end of that. So if I just play that for you.
Have to strengthen, no doubt.
Okay, now we want this to stay in the same place. We don't want it to be moving around accidentally. I've done it many times myself where I've accidentally clicked on something and found that I've had to go back and do the edit again. So if we right click and rubber band around everything we want to lock, and then we right click on it, we can go to item settings, lock item. Yeah, so let's get the next article. So let's say we're going to go with Ian. Now, I think this is Ian's article. Let's just solo that to listen to it. Yep, so let's call Ian Reader 2. So we're going to click and drag his file up to Reader 2. And because we have this snap enabled, snap is enabled, it will automatically snap to the end of the previous file. So we can listen to the join between the two.
No doubt.
From the Glasgow Times, date.
Okay, and the same thing applies. Because we have the gap tone copied into the clipboard, just select the file that we're working on, hit end paste, and then right-click rubber band, right-click item settings, lock item. Now, if we need to unlock it, we can click on the icon, and we can also use a shortcut, which is L for lock. There we go, and so on. So we'll add one more. I think this is Andrew down here. Let's solo that.
It's a strange day for me because I'm
Okay, let's unlock that. Drag up there. We'll make Andrew reader 3. We're going to paste the gap tone at the end. Let's check the transition there.
This was by Stacey Mullen.
Article from Glasgow Times.
Okay, and we're going to lock that again. So hit L for lock. And we're going to use Margaret for the last one. So same thing again. So Margaret is reader. Margaret is reader 5. And again, select her track, click end paste, and check the transition.
We can decide not to get that Glasgow Times logo as an ink.
Nicola Sturgeon.
Okay, and again, let's lock that. So, going to lock. And once we've been through, for example, we've got 4 readers here, and I just cycle through them. So we're going to go back to Bill again, and we're going to put another one of Bill's articles up here, again, because snap is enabled. Snap forward, check the transition.
Back to normality.
Graham McGarry says...
Okay, select that file, hit end paste. I'm going to lock it. We're going to grab a file of Ian's. And in there, do the same again.
Eventually hangs up his boots.
From the Glasgow Times, date Friday the 24th.
And again, end paste. And we're going to add one more. Let's get an article of Andrew's. There's this one down here. Check the transition. We'll lock that. So let's lock it.
And that piece was by Stacey Mullen.
Article from Glasgow Times.
Okay, and the same thing again. End paste. There we go. And I'm going to lock that. Now you can see that we've gone from Monday and we've overrun the kind of the barrier or the limit for Tuesday, but it doesn't really matter that much. If you want, what you can do is you can click on the marker, and then if snap is enabled, you can drag it. In fact, you can, if you hover over the end of the item so that the cursor changes, and you click on it, that means that the playhead will jump to there, and then you can use that to get the marker to snap to it. So now there's the start of Tuesday, and then we can drag it back and forth. If, for example, we decided that actually we'd rather go there, we do the same thing. We just hover over the end, click on it so the playhead jumps to there, and then drag the marker back to there. So that could be the start of Tuesday. So, sorry, when I drag the files in, whichever day I'm dragging in, for example, if I'll relabel this folder as Monday, for example. That's not how you spell Monday. And now the next day when I drag the next lot of files in, what I'll do is, just for illustration purposes, I'll drag the same lot of files in again, but so I'm going back to the daily articles, select all the files, Control C, and I'm going to create a track, double click an empty space just to give me a bit of a divider for importing, and hit Control V. So there's our Tuesday track. So let's rename that Tuesday tracks. Tuesday. Now I want to start my edit for Tuesday down here at this second marker. So I will select all the tracks, rubber band and drag all the way around them, turn the lock off, and then drag the files up there. There we go. So now our resources our files that we can drag from all start around about Tuesday. Now I'll just mute them all just so we're not listening to the whole thing. Now, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do that. There we go. Now, again, to make it easier to work on, I want to drag it into the correct folder. So click, I'm going to drag it above the Monday folder, but still inside the import below folder. So I don't want to be up here. I want to be in here where it indents. See, it's just indented there. There we go. So Monday, Tuesday. So this is the file I'm working on at the moment. But I've got Monday's files down here out of the way just in case I want to use them. I don't see why you might need them, but just in case. So let's do the same thing as if we were doing Tuesday. And if you're working on a single paper, most likely it will be the same readers that are reading again. So if this was Bill at the top, I'd put Bill into there. Sorry, Bill was on the wrong one. So Bill would be there, and then same thing. I would be go back to the gap tone, highlight it, Control C, select my file, end paste, lock it, go to the next reader, drag his file in, his or her file, and so on and so forth. So you just carry on like that day by day all the way through until you get the full week, and then it's just a case of final checks and then exporting. So I will carry on and I'll add more files to this, and I'll skip forward to show you the export process. Okay, so I have finished the edit here. I've inserted the articles from each day and rotated through the readers to give a bit of variety. Here are the folders below with the remains of the files I didn't use. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to finish up the end section here and export the whole thing. So because we've overrun a little bit, we need to move the outro music and a dialogue. So I'm going to right click and rubber band around the whole thing to select them all so they all move together. I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to just hover over the end of this item here, click on it so I get the playhead moves up there, drop a marker there, and then right click around this. This will usually be locked, so I'm just going to rubber band, unlock it, and then drag it out so that it snaps to the marker there. And we can just check the end of the last article.
Written by Stuart Patterson.
So for me that comes in a little bit quickly, so I'm just going to leave a bit of a gap there.
Written by Stuart Patterson.
And that was this week's Glasgow Times. Thanks for listening.
Okay, so I'm just going to lock that in position and zoom out to the entire project. And what we can do now is if we right click and rubber band round, in fact we don't even have to do that, we can just go Control A, which will select all the files in the project. Or if you want to rubber band around it, you can also do the same thing. So if we right click and drag and we go around all the files to select everything, and then we hit time select. Now you can see our left and right markers have jumped to the end of the outro, and if we hit the home button on our keyboard, that will take us back to the start. Just to make sure that the start is, the end of the left marker is right at the beginning. Zoom up to the project extents again. Now all we've got to do is export it. So same as before, if we hit render, There's a preset built for it, all settings. CNR Castbox MP3. So I'll go through settings again just in case the template isn't installed on your computer. So it's master mix, time selection, set your destination. Now I'm going to put it in the same folder that I'm working in. Just this one, and I put it into complete Castbox in there. And the name for the Castbox, I always use the same format. So I've got if you go to, here we go, into the folder, into the working folder, there's a naming protocol here. So I just copy and paste that into here. And this is from the 20th to the 24th. So let's make that 20th to 24th. And this is July 2020. The sample rate should be 44.1. It should be mono again, full speed offline. Make sure this is set to extreme, MP3, constant bit rate, maximum quality, and 320 kps again. And again, this will take a while to render out. So again, you could do emails or something else instead. I'll set this going and I'll come back to you once it's done. Okay, now that the box is finished rendering out, all we've got to do is check it before we upload it. So what I like to do is re-import it back into an instance of Reaper, just so I can just quickly skim through it. So I'm going to go to my export, which is here. I'm going to create an object in Reaper. You can press Control, Alt, and N to open up a new project tab. And if we go to the file, we just click and drag it in. We can use our zoom track again to zoom out. We're going to get rid of the grid as well. And it takes a minute to draw the file, to draw the waveform. Okay, so let's have a quick listen at the start. I'll just turn this down a little bit because it'll be quite loud. Let's take it -15.
You're listening to the Glasgow Times, normally recorded by volunteers at the Bishopbriggs Media Centre. This week's articles.
SPFL confirmed the SP.
And you can quite clearly see the gaps between the articles here, the little tone.
28. Stephen Gerrard, hopeful of adding striker. Celtic chief Peter Lowell.
End of July 2020.
And I can quickly skim through and see.
Suspected communications.
Spirit Drum Chapel.
Everything looks good. There's no big chunks missing out of the middle of it. And we can check the outro as well.
Written by Stuart Patterson.
And that was this week's Glasgow Times. Thanks for listening.
Okay, now that that's been checked, that's ready to upload. So I'm just going to close this project. Don't need to save it, and we can save this project as well, just in case we need it. And we'll go to the upload site for the Castbox. So now that we're on the Castbox, if we go to Queue and Review, and we go to Creator Studio, and we're going to upload. There we go, and we just drag and drop this in here. And again, the same as before with the naming schedule for for the file itself, there's also a naming schedule for the description as well. So this is from the 24th. Sorry, this is the 20th. Sorry, 20th. Of July 2020. We choose the channel, Glasgow Times. And obviously, once that's uploaded, we browse to the page and just check that everything is working fine. And that's it. That's the entire process of editing the Castbox from the raw files right the way through to uploading it onto the Castbox website. Thanks for listening.